guys, and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be doing the palette tag video. Now I believe this tag was started by Samantha March and her friend Ali Glines. Haven't checked her channel out yet, shamefully, but I do watch Samantha March and I've watched her eyeshadow palette tag, and loads of other people have seemed to be doing them. I've seen Angelica Nyquist, my fave, Kelly Gooch, who else? Morgan Turner did one, Mel Thompson, and I saw that they did this palette tag and I was like, oh, this kind of interests me. This is the sort of thing that I would enjoy, and I enjoyed watching all of their tags. So a tag video to me, like a good tag video, is something that I enjoy watching multiple people do, and I watched like loads of them. I was literally on a binge watching everyone's palette tag video, so I thought I would do one for myself. I've added a little bit of a spin onto it. I will obviously put Samantha's and Ali's video down below, because obviously they were the creator of this tag, I am to believe. I believe that there's 13 questions or palettes to show in the original tag video, but I'm going to kind of put my own spin on it. I feel like other people have done that as well. It's like Chinese whispers. People have added their own one question here, or interpreted a question differently and changed it out, and I'm gonna kind of do the same. So yeah, let's just get into this. I will list all of the palettes that I mentioned today in the description bar below, as well as all of the questions. I guess they're not really questions, but they're more like statements, I suppose, but it'll all be listed down below. So if you want to check it out, or you misheard what I said, or you wanted to go back on a palette that I mentioned, it'll all be in the description bar below. Okay, so the first one is, what is your newest palette? Now I went onto my debit card to see which transaction was my latest, and actually it was at Beauty Bay. Whoopsie, I bought 3 palettes in one transaction. So I can't really say which is the newest out of these 3 because I bought them all at the same time, which is kind of annoying for the purpose of this video, but whoops. So here I have the Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson Conspiracy palette. I actually recently played around with this palette in a full face of first impressions. This palette is gorgina. It's chef's kiss. It's beautiful, okay? It is beautiful. I was dying to get my hands on this when this originally launched. I think it was November. I want to say November last year, 2019, November 2019, I think that's when it first launched, but I couldn't get my hands on it, and then I tried to get the next launch in January, still couldn't get my hands on it, and then I recently bought this in April, so I was able to get my hands on it, and oh my goodness, it is delightful. The other 2 palettes I have here are the Nabla Dreamy 2 palette. Now this is actually a palette that I did have my eyes on, but it was a little bit expensive for my liking. I haven't actually tried it out yet. It's still, well, it was until now in my full face of first impressions box for me to try out if you guys wanted me to try it out in that second video. I'll link it up in the eye. It is a little longer, that video, because I did do everything brand new, from primer to brows to mascara. Everything was brand new, even the tools that I was using. But this is the Nabla Dreamy 2. Now the Dreamy 2 was the first palette that really caught my eye, but the price point was a little bit high for my liking for a brand that I'd never tried before. I recently then tried the Nabla 3, 4 and 5 Cutie palettes, fell in love with the formula, and knew that as soon as I saw this back in stock, I had to get it because it was calling my name to begin with, and it's truly beautiful. And then the third palette I have here is the Melt Radioactive palette. I believe the only other Melt palette I have is the Smoke Sessions, and I think the formula is good. I don't think it's anything to write home about, but there's only 2 mattes in that palette, and in this palette they're all kind of mattes slash satins, and they are, oh, they're so electrifying. They are just like highlighters. They are like a pencil case of highlighters. I love this. So number 2, what is your oldest palette? Now I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I literally don't know. I had to go on like loads of blog posts to find out which one was the oldest, and I kind of refined it down to 1, I think, which is the Urban Decay Original Naked palette. I know this is discontinued, and I still have mine in the box because I am like that. So this is my original Naked palette. I haven't opened this in quite a while. I'm scared to what I'll see. Okay, no, it's not mouldy. But this is the original Naked palette by Urban Decay. It has been discontinued and replaced by Naked Reloaded, I think it is. But this is a beautiful palette. This was one of my first palettes. My true oldest palette is actually a palette I decluttered in my last decluttering. If you haven't seen that, I will link it up in the eye. I'll link the whole playlist if you want to go see different parts of my makeup being decluttered. But I actually had an MUA palette that was a dupe for this and it was like £4 and it was great, and I had that before I bought this. We only have like 2 mattes, which I wasn't even aware of, but my goodness, these are still beautiful quality. There we go. Here's some random swatches. They're still, oh god, that was terrible, I'm sorry, but they're still working just like the day I got it. And yeah, it's just such a beautiful neutral palette. I feel like it is a cult classic, and it's something that nearly everyone owned and probably still does unless you've decluttered it out of your collection. But this was a real starting point in the makeup world. I will never get rid of this. The next one is, what is your most expensive palette? Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, I like the only high-end makeup I like, and the only thing that I love spending a pretty penny on is eyeshadow palettes. So I have quite a few expensive eyeshadow palettes. My personal opinion, I think they're audaciously expensive, but the most expensive one I have in my collection is the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. This palette reminds me of Great Gatsby era, the 20s. I have no idea why, it just does. It's like smoky, golden, green tones, rich jewel tones. I just love this palette. It's a pretty penny. It's pretty spenny, but is it worth it? For me, yes, because I love makeup. It's like my drug. I'm a collector. I love it. I use it, and I don't regret it. But I'd find it difficult recommending it because we hit the 3 digits with this one. We'll just say that. These shades are full of pigment, to be fair. Like, you do get absolute quality with these shadows. Like, there is no debate in that. These shadows are brilliant quality. It's just, you know, the price. And then zooming to the other end of the spectrum, we have, what is your most affordable palette? Now, I have quite a few affordable palettes. Like I said, I'm a makeup junkie. I love eyeshadow palettes. They have a special place in my heart. So they're all kind of like the same price range, like £4. And I have quite a few Makeup Revolution ones that are £4. But an eyeshadow palette for me that stands out as one of the best affordable eyeshadow palettes I have ever purchased is the MUA, or Makeup Academy, I call it MUA, Fire Vixen palette. Now this is £4, and this is probably one of the best £4 eyeshadow palettes I have ever used in my life. I think they had other colour stories of this, but in my personal opinion, this is the best. Warm deliciousness. This palette is sensational. It's amazing. £4. My god. My arm is going to start getting really red, isn't it? I can't see it in the viewfinder, but I can tell that it's getting itchy and red. So there we go. That is, like, in essence, just a couple of shades from this palette. It's just beautiful. It's not the most pigmented thing in the world. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not the likes of other palettes that I've got here in terms of pigment, but blendability, affordability. I mean, this is so lightweight, you could travel anywhere with this. It's got beautiful shades, it's got some matte shades, it's got a good ratio of mattes to shimmers or metallics, whatever you want to say. And I absolutely love this palette. It's really, really beautiful and so consistent. That's another thing, it's so consistent. I love it. The next question is, what is your everyday palette? Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I don't have an everyday palette. Simply because I have so many. And I actually love changing eyeshadow every single day. I just reach in, grab something, maybe I'll use it for 2 or 3 days on the trot because I'll leave it up in my vanity area, and then I'll plop it back in and pick something else up. So I don't really have a true everyday eyeshadow palette that I use every day. So I had a rummage through my drawers and I thought, if there was a palette I had to use every single day, what would I use? And it was the good old Zoeva Cocoa Blend palette. I still use this to this day. This palette is scrumptious. It's everything you want in an everyday palette. It will suit so many people. If you've got warm undertones, cool undertones, darker skin, lighter skin, I feel like there's something in here for everybody. You know, if you've got a darker complexion, these are beautiful highlighting shades, like really stark white highlighting shades, and really lovely sort of transition shades and pops of red. I feel like, I mean, obviously I am the colour I am, so I don't know if what I'm saying is kind of true. If you have dark skin tones and you've used this palette and you love it, please tell me down below. Am I right in what I'm saying about it being versatile? I think it is. But then again, I'm the one using it, so maybe I'm completely wrong. But I just love, love, love this palette. It's just got everything you want every day in. It's got a deepening darkening shade with the nice warm chocolate brown. It's got a highlighting shade, like this lovely matte colour. It's got like this pinky toned highlight, this lovely transition shade, which you can kind of see that I've hit pan on because it's like that bronzery shade. A bit of a deepening shade for the crease, a pop of red if you want it, a pop of gold if you want it, like a shimmery brown if you want it, a shimmery plum if you want it. It's just perfect. It's just perfect, and I love this palette. I think it is an everyday palette, and I think if I had to use one for the rest of my life on an everyday basis, this would be it. I packed it away without swatching it. So here we go. My goodness, they're so soft, so beautiful, and so consistent. Oh, she says, not dragging the swatch down properly. Brilliant. But these are so, so beautiful. It's just such an everyday, warm toned, but it's like warm toned but not too orange toned. It's like a warm brown, beautiful, beautiful palette. I need to try more of Zoeva. I've only got 3 palettes, and to be honest with you, I wish I had more because their formula, beautiful. The next one is, what is your most colourful palette? Now I love colour. I love colourful eyeshadow. Trying to find a colourful eyeshadow palette in my drawer was trying to find like a needle in a haystack. I just didn't really know where to start because nearly all of my shadows have colour in them in some capacity. But as I was opening them up, I was thinking to myself, well, actually, there's quite a lot of neutrals in here. Like, what's the most colourful one? What's the one with the least amount of neutrals in? And this was my conclusion. The Jeffree Star Jawbreaker palette. Again, it's all in boxes. I promise you I do use this makeup. I just like to protect it in the boxes. This Jawbreaker palette, I'd say, is the most colourful eyeshadow palette I have ever owned. And when I opened this, I was like, oh yeah, how could I forget this? This has two neutral shades. Arguably, this one's not very neutral because it's like peach. And that one is like a brown just for, I don't know what it's for. There is not a shade in here that isn't bright and colourful, and I've got to say, this is the brightest palette that I own. I don't actually dip into this enough. I've only dipped into it a handful times, but I kind of am so overwhelmed by how many colourful eyeshadows are in here. It's kind of a bit scary for me sometimes, even for me. It's just a bit like, whoa, what do I do with this? But it is beautiful. It is, I mean, it is so colourful. It's like an alternative rainbow. It's beautiful. It's a bit scary. Now let's dip into some colours. I must say, I do absolutely love Jeffree's formula. I think his formula is top notch and is quite difficult to beat. I feel like this pinky swatch is not working with my pinky, but look at those bright, colourful shades. It's a mix of, I'd say, pastels, brights and jewel tones in this palette, which is very different. I think a lot of palettes don't have a mix of jewel tones, pastels and brights all in one, but this one does, and it's got a good mix of mattes and metallics, which I really, really like. So yeah, this is my most colourful one. Okay, the next question is, what is your smallest palette? Again, I have a lot of small palettes. I love mini palettes. I think they are great fun. I feel like Angelica Nyquist here on YouTube is, or has been, the one to ignite the flame within me to love mini palettes. I've always enjoyed mini palettes. I've always liked them. I've never enjoyed massive palettes, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. I've never really been one for a big palette, just because I find it a bit too much. But small palettes I've just enjoyed, and she just lit a fire within me to really enjoy small palettes. So anyway, these are my smallest palettes simply because they have 4 eyeshadows in. They are actually the same size as a Huda Beauty 9-pan palette, but these had 4 in, so I thought they'd be smaller. I have the Soap & Glory Lid Stuff palette. This is What's Nude. Beautiful, beautiful 4-pan eyeshadow palette with nude shades in. I also have the Lid Stuff Soap & Glory palette called the Off the Wall Flowers palette. Both of these are 4-pan. They're both beautiful. I don't know if you can get these anymore. I don't know if they're available. If they're not, I'm sorry, but you know, they're in my collection, so I had to show them. So really, really beautiful palettes. I also have the Diego de la Parra palette, which I keep in the box because it was expensive and it's got pretty packaging. And this is the Into the Wild palette. Again, 4-pan palette. Packaging is stunning, got all this beautiful embroidery on, and then you've got 4 shades that just look like this. Really, really, really beautiful. They're so pigmented. Let me just swatch this one first. So this is the Diego Della Palma one. Oh, okay. These are a little bit odd job, aren't they? But there you go. That's the Diego Della Palma one. Really, really beautiful. Full of pigment. That gold, I did not justify that gold enough. God damn. There we go. There's the money maker. Woohoo! I'll also swatch these Soap & Glory ones. I did actually originally declutter this palette in my eyeshadow decluttering thing, and then I took it out again because, I mean, it was the only palette I did take out, to be fair, but I just couldn't get rid of it on sentimental value because I like it that much. Again, I'm really sorry if these swatches are bad. My arm is literally falling off. Oh wow, they're not pigmented at all, are they? Love that. And then we move on to the other end of the spectrum. What is your largest palette? It's so big. It's the Morphe 39A palette. For some reason, I just have a distaste for this palette. It just looks like this on the inside. I mean, it is huge. Like, look how big this is. This is bigger than my head. And I have quite a big head. This is huge. And I don't know why I can't get rid of this palette. I just, every time I open my drawers, I look at it and I think, ugh, that thing. Which is probably a reason to get rid of it. But then when I open it up, I'm like, oh, do I want to get rid of it? I don't know, do I? One day I'll get rid of this. One day I will grow sick of this and want it out of my life. But sometimes I still dip into this, sometimes. And then I'm like, well, I don't want to get rid of something that I keep dipping into. Anyway, this is the largest palette that I own. It's absolutely mahoosive. I don't know why it's so big. Like, the shadows are not bad quality, as you can see. They're not terrible. They are pretty. One day I will get rid of this. One day. But not yet. I'm not ready yet. But it's a nice palette. It's just, in my eyes, I hate that it's so big. Like, literally, it's just so big. Why? The next one is, what is the palette with the best memory attached to it? Now, I have a lot of palettes that bring me great memories, and that is the reason why I hold on to so many eyeshadow palettes. A lot of eyeshadow palettes are what bring me the greatest of memories. So this was a really difficult one for me because every palette in my collection holds a certain memory to me that I treasure. But one palette in the back of it all was this sleek palette. This is the, yes, Garden of Eden palette. This palette brings me such good memories. It's the first palette that I ever played around with on YouTube. It's my first video. The first video I ever put on YouTube is with this palette. How can I get rid of a palette that has that memory attached to it? And this is my problem. This is why I own so much makeup. But I just could never get rid of this palette unless it was causing a health risk to me. It's absolutely just, it holds such a special place in my heart. You know, I love it regardless of if it was with my first video or not, and I would have kept it regardless because, hello, look at those beautiful greens. Sleek formula, I'd say, is still one of the best drugstore formulas, I'd say, for its price, definitely top 5. And it's just got so many memories attached to it. I just love this palette. I loved this. I think this is called Fig. Wait, where's the slip? I'm so good. It's called Fig, this shade right here. In fact, let's swatch this one. So this is just a little sample of the shades. Sleek formula. I'm really sorry if these shadows, like these swatches, are really bad because I couldn't actually pick up a lot of product on my finger. But these shadows are just so, so lovely. Wow, what a bad swatch, Megan, I'm so sorry. But these shadows are so, so beautiful. I love green eyeshadow, I always have. I feel like green eyeshadow really complements brown eyes, so I have always loved this palette, and it's the one that holds one of the most special memories to me, and that is starting my YouTube channel. So yeah, that was quite apt to share it in this video. The next one is, what is a palette that is worth the hype? Now, I've only played around with it for a handful of times, but the Conspiracy palette is worth every moment of hype ever, okay? The quality of this palette, now like I said, I've only played with it a couple of times, but I played with a lot of the shadows. The quality of this palette is on par with all of Jeffree's formula. I think Jeffree's formula is one of the best formulas out there in this industry today, which says a lot because there's a lot of people out in this industry. I think his is one of the best, and this palette to me is just so, it's just so imaginative, and it's just something I would have never have thought to put together myself. Some of the colours I thought would throw me off, but actually when you get them on the eyes, everything just works together nicely. You've got this row of neutrals, which is just beautiful on an everyday basis if you don't want a pop of colour. Then you've got this row of smoky tones, which are just like these deep, dark, metallic, grungy looking colours with a hint of teal. Maybe that's not as grungy as these colours, but they're all like nice, deep, smoky shades. And then you go through this middle row, which is just pops of bright colour, which blend into all of these beautifully. This palette is so worth the hype. If you were thinking about getting it and you didn't know if it was worth the hype or not, I promise you, even if you like half of the shades and you don't like the other half, it is worth it tenfold. I don't regret anything about purchasing this palette. Wow, 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 wow. I mean, my swatches are absolutely terrible currently because my arm's kind of shaking, my leg's gone dead, my arm is sore, but just wow, this palette. I wish I could swatch more of them for you, but I'm not going to. It's stunning. It is absolutely stunning. The next one is, what is a palette that is not worth the hype? Ugh. This is a really difficult one for me because I have a lot of palettes. This palette for me is a palette that I think received a lot of hype, It is a Jeffree Star palette, so a lot of his palettes get a lot of hype, so not difficult really. But for me, this is the palette that I was disappointed with the most, and therefore I think is not worth the hype. However, I would still repurchase it if it got taken away from me, on the basis that the formula is beautiful, the colours are beautiful, but for me I don't think it's worth the hype, and that is the Jeffree Star Blue Blood palette. Before you come for me, I actually love this palette. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking this doesn't make any sense. How can you love a palette but not think it's worth the hype? The reason for me talking about this palette as not worth the hype is I still view this palette the same way I did when I saw the reveal video by Jeffree. And when he opened this palette, this was my reaction. Oh. Okay. This reaction, that reaction, is still one I have now. This is a beautiful palette. I have done beautiful looks with it. I reach in with it time and time again. I like the consistency, I love the formula, I love every shade in here. But as a palette, I was expecting something more blue. I was expecting different shades of blue than in here. I was expecting more, I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe less, like, what the hell is this pink doing in here? It's a beautiful shade, it's a beautiful shade. Don't get me wrong, I don't dislike the pink. I don't see a place for it in here. I don't see a place for a lot of these shades. I don't like this teal. I don't like how grey some of these are. There's no true navy blue in here. I mean, there's that one, but that one's like glittery. And this is a green in my eyes. I don't know, there's something about this palette that, from the day I looked at it, I knew I was going to get it regardless, which is kind of stupid, but there's something about this that is underwhelming for me. And it's the colour story. I love it, but I don't. I hate it, but I love it. I don't know, I just think, in short, the colours that I was expecting this palette to have weren't there, and therefore it was not worth the hype that it received, because I don't think it was the perfect blue palette. In my personal opinion, I think there's a ton of shades that are missing, a ton of shades that don't belong in this palette, and therefore I believe it's not worth the hype. These are my favourite shades. Wow, these swatches are getting really bad, you guys, I'm so sorry. This palette had so much potential. Why didn't they play around with this colour palette more? This is perfect blues. Like, oh, these blues. The next one is, what is your most used palette? My most used palette is the ABH Anastasia Beverly Hills Sultry palette. I think this is limited edition, but they still have it on their website, so I'm kind of unsure. I think maybe they're just keeping it because it's still popular. But my god, if I had to create a cool toned shadow palette, a going out palette, this would be it. It has one of my favourite shades, Cyborg, in here. This beautiful silver. Oh, it's just the best going out palette I have ever had, and I use it all the time. All the time. It is my most used palette. I know there's no dents or hitting pan on it because I actually am scared to hit pan on this because I don't think I can be without this. I love it that much. It's just like, if I want a smoky eye, if I want to feel sexy, if I just want something dinner time, like date night, if I want like a work Christmas meal, if I just want like something that I know I will feel confident in with like beautiful smoky cool tones metallics, this is the one. This is the one. I love it so much. Anastasia, how dare you discontinue this if you have because this is beautiful. Better, far better than any other palette you've ever created. I've just taken a little selection here again. I'm so sorry if these swatches are bad, but they're just getting worse and worse as this video progresses. So there we go, that is a little selection of this palette. Look at that silver, look at it, it's beautiful. My most underrated palette is the Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes palette. I know this did receive quite a lot of hype when it was originally sort of launched, but I feel like no one talks about this anymore, and this palette is, I mean, firstly it smells divine, but this palette just holds such a special place in my heart. I still use this. I know it was released like, what, 3 years ago now, but I still use this to this day. It's stunning, I love it. It's just full of the most perfect peachy tone mattes. It is an all matte palette, but in some ways I kind of like it because it's an all matte palette. I don't feel like I have to dedicate myself to a shimmer colour. I just like it for what it is. It's beautiful. I have created so many looks with this palette. I love it. I love the packaging. And I don't understand why people don't talk about this more often. I mean, me included. I don't talk about it because other people don't talk about it. I feel like it's a domino effect, but I don't talk about this palette enough. I love it. It's one of my favourites. Again, one of the top 10 palettes I own. I absolutely love it. It's just perfectness. Again, here we go with the swatches. Oh yeah, beautiful. These swatches are terrible. I'm so sorry, but please just get the gist. Get the gist. They're beautiful. Oh, so creamy, so matte, so blendable. Wow, do you know what? When I look at these swatches in person, they're even worse than they look on camera. But this palette, yo, if you can get this palette, you will not be disappointed. You will not. The smell smells of peaches and I love it. So underrated. What is my favourite discontinued palette? So not limited edition, but what is my favourite discontinued palette? And it is the Urban Decay Electric palette. I still keep it in its box because I'm crazy, but this palette to me, I don't know why they would ever discontinue this palette. I don't know why. They've replaced it with something that's not even in the same level. I'm not even practicing on the same ballpark. This palette to me just embodies Urban Decay and embodies everything that they are as a brand. Edgy, urban, at the forefront, you know, the OGs of the makeup industry, the people that put colour into makeup. And for me, I truly feel that way. I feel like they are the people that started eyeshadow palettes, that started the trend, that started the movement of bright colours as well. And this palette is just everything to me. I will never get rid of this palette, and I'm scared to use it even to this day because I don't want to use it and be without it. I love this. I love this. I feel like Urban Decay really missed a trick when they did their latest one. They should have made it as good as this, if not better. They should have made it the sister, not the replacement. This is beautiful, and it's my favourite discontinued palette. Okay, there we go. Look how bright these are. They're so amazing. It's just everything I want from a pigment palette. Love it. Love it. The next one that I have created is which palette has the best packaging. Now, Jeffree Star has amazing packaging. Amazing packaging. So innovative, so different. I mean, Bloodlust. Who has packaging like that, okay? But one that really stood out to me was the Luna Beauty by Manny MUA Moon Spell palette. Now, I actually received this for Christmas. I've never actually showed it to you on my channel before. I don't know why. If you'd like to see me using this palette, please do tell me. If you'd like to see me using any of these palettes, just tell me down below. But the Moon Spell palette to me was particularly special in its packaging because it's so innovative. It's like a book. It's got these beautiful rivets in, not rivets, like divots. Divots, not too sure. It looks like a book. It has these beautiful shiny pieces on them. It has like this beautiful book layout on the back. It's just so consistent, The packaging inside is beautiful. The mirror is massive. The shades are beautiful. Everything about this packaging is so stunning. What is your favourite indie brand shadow? I actually came up with this one myself because I really wanted to mention it. Now, I have been playing around with these palettes. I have one on my eye. If you have not seen this look already, I'll link up in the eye. And that is the Kaleidos, however you say it, but the Futurism palettes, okay? I've got Futurism 1, Futurism 2, Futurism 3, 4 and 5. I have only played around with 3 of them so far, but I can tell you if these other 2 are anything like these 3, they're on the money with the formula. They are on the money. I'm not going to swatch them because there's so many here right now, and I feel like my eye look speaks for itself. I feel like I haven't tried a plethora of indie brand eyeshadows, but I feel like the ones that I have tried, Kaleidos, are just on the money. They know what they're doing. Oh my goodness, they're worth every single penny. I'd say they do compete with Jeffree Star in some ways because they are that beautiful. I'm going to say that these are my favourite indie brand eyeshadow palettes. They're stunning. And then last but not least, I thought the question that was missing was, what is your favourite travel eyeshadow palette? Now, I go between travel eyeshadow palettes quite a lot simply because I don't know what I'm feeling. But I love eyeshadow palettes of this size, something that I can fit in the palm of my hand. I have taken a lot of Colourpop eyeshadow palettes travelling with me, and 2 that I really liked travelling with were the Dreamy palette and the Zodiac palette by Colourpop and Kathleen Lights. Those 2 palettes were so great. But I feel like when I travel now, I just feel like I don't need so much makeup with me. I don't apply enough makeup when I'm away to warrant taking so much with me. And this palette by Sigma is just such a good palette. It has everything that you want. It's the Warm Neutrals Volume 2. It has a beautiful mirror as well, so you can do all your makeup in that mirror. And it's just full of beautiful, beautiful shades. It's got some really nice neutral shades just to fling through the crease when you just want to run out the door because you're travelling. You don't want to spend time in the morning doing your makeup. You want to go travel out and explore or relax by the pool. Sometimes you don't want any makeup. But this is a beautiful palette because it has those neutrals where you can just fluff something through the crease and go about your day and look nice in pictures. Or if something for the evening, you've got these bronze tones, this red tone, these beautiful like sparkly shades. And with this palette you could take a topper shade, like I've taken Barry M like toppers before, or the Stila Glitter and Glows, and this palette pairs beautifully with this. It's just got everything you need: a deepen and darken shade, crease colours, a highlighting shade, pops of nice sultry-ish warm toned colours. It's just really, really beautiful, and I think this is a really perfect travel palette, something of this nature anyway. But it's one of my favourite travel palettes and something I could easily go a week or 2 away with and find different looks with every single time I use it. I truly love this palette. Again, full of pigment, really, really beautiful, really easily wearable, similar to the Zoeva Cocoa Blend in that sense that it's so wearable, so warm, so beautiful. It would go with any outfit that you've got on. It's just such a universally great palette. And that is it, you guys. I have been filming for a long time, so hopefully this video isn't too long, but I do not hold out any hope whatsoever that it's short. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I hope you've enjoyed the eyeshadow palette tag video. If you have, do not forget to give me a good old thumbs up. Check out Samantha's video down below. I'll link hers and her friend that I've already forgotten her name. Ali? That might be wrong. I don't know. It'll be down in the description bar below if you want to check out her video, because obviously they are the originators, the creators of this tag. Obviously I put my own spin on it by adding a few more, which has probably made this video 1,000 years longer than it should have been. But there you go. Thank you guys for watching so much. I do appreciate you. I do love you so, so much. Subscribe if you haven't already and ring the bell because then you'll be notified of all the videos I upload. I upload every single week and you wouldn't want to miss out on more content from me. No, you would not, sir. No, you would not. Thank you guys for watching. All the information will be down in the description bar below, like I said. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.